Korean fried chicken. It's definitely in the top 3 of fried chickens in my opinion, and it's really not that difficult or that expensive to pull together. We're gonna make a whole bunch of fried chicken today with some sides, all for under 25 Australian dollars. But is it the top fried chicken? Let's find out. It's way cheaper to buy whole birds and break them down yourselves. So I'm gonna show you how to do that first. If you don't want to break down birds yourself, you can just buy drumsticks. They're normally pretty affordable as well. But I like doing the whole birds because then you get some of the dark meat, some of the light meat, you know, and everyone's happy. Take them out of the packet and get them nice and dry. And then we're gonna take the legs off first. Run your blade between the bottom of the breast and the top of the leg. And then you're gonna twist this leg out until the joint of the leg that meets the carcass pops out, like that. Then just run your blade as close as you can to the rest of the carcass, and you got a leg. We're gonna split that leg in half, so you have the drumstick and the thigh. And again, find the middle, cut it down, and if you get it right in the right spot, you can cut right through. If you don't find that joint straight away, feel around for it, and then you'll find it. From there, you can trim a little bit of this fat off, but I think that's what makes the thigh meat so delicious, is that fat. But if it is a little bit too much, then feel free to trim that off. There you go, there's the first 2 pieces. I'll just quickly whip this other leg off. This is what we call the crown of the chicken once it's got that bottom part off. I'll show you that just because why not. So if you cut down the middle of the frame, and you're gonna see here, it kind of opens up. What we're trying to do is cut this back spine off. So make sure the wings are out the way, and then just cut straight down like so. And then that there is the crown. Now keep this, makes delicious stock. So from here, you can take these breasts off the bone. I prefer to leave them on. I think you get like a better flavor. The bottom part of the bone or the carcass kind of protects the breast a bit. So just run your blade down the center, and then with a bit of force, you should be able to cut right through the middle. From here, just trim up the bottom, and then I like to take that wing part off and keep that as a piece. Make sure there's none of that neck bone left there. Pull that out. And you'll find where that wing attaches to the rest of the carcass, like the other joints, you'll be able to cut right through it. So there you go, you got a wing. And then this piece, I'll leave that backbone on there. Just make sure you warn your guests, or if you've got kids that are eating this, feel free to whip that off. But I'm just gonna cut that right down the center and right through, and you've got 2 pieces of the breast. So same with this side, it's got a bit more of the neck on, we'll get rid of that. Get rid of that bit of fat there. We'll take that wing piece off, and we'll cut this breast in half. There you go, there's one chicken broken down. We'll break this other one down, and then we will season these and marinate them. All right, now we're gonna get our chicken into a bowl, and we're gonna season it. Now you can leave this to season for 2-3 hours if you want. I'm just gonna do it for an hour. To season our chicken, ginger, garlic, pepper, and salt. So this all depends on how much chicken that you are cooking at one time, but I'll give you, in the recipe below, I'll give the amounts that I use for 2 chickens, and if you're just doing 1, then just half it. And we're just gonna grate some ginger in there, and garlic. We're gonna give that a good toss, just to make sure, especially that salt and pepper, well, all of it really, is all well incorporated and all over the chickie. Now ginger is definitely in Korean food, but I think the more prominent aromat is garlic. You find a lot of garlic in Korean food, and I think that's one of the reasons I love it. All right, I'm gonna wash my hands, and we'll get this in the fridge to chill out for a couple of hours. All right, it's time to make the sauce. Without a doubt, the most important ingredient in this sauce is gochujang, or Korean chili bean paste. There's different levels of temperature with this, and it appears that they're kiddie proof. I usually go for the medium hot one. I think that's kind of a nice level. The extremely hot one is extremely hot. I've got a decent tolerance for spice. If hot ones ever want me on, I should get through it, but I won't have a good time. What was going on here? It's all right, I got it, guys. So now I've fought with that for a while. We've got that open. So gochujang, ginger. I like quite a lot of ginger, and I like to microplane it. You can just crush it and use your knife if you want to. And I'm gonna do it onto that. Save my board smelling like garlic. I just call this ginger, I don't know why. It's clearly garlic. Done. All right, I know it looks like I'm overkill. I'm cooking this in a much bigger pot or a wok than I should be, but that's because I'm gonna toss all the chicken in it. Medium-low heat. Before it gets too hot, add your garlic. Just about called it ginger again. And we're just cooking that till it's just slightly fragrant. Just want to get rid of some of that really strong garlicky smell. Then add the gochujang, some tomato ketchup. People always say, oh, you're cheating using tomato ketchup. I'm not making it. Just buy it. Honey, I'm using hot honey because it kind of makes sense. 3 tablespoons. You can also use brown sugar if you don't have hot honey. Vinegar, to be perfectly honest, should be rice wine vinegar. I don't have any, so apple cider will do. And salt. We're also just going to add a little dash of water to help kind of let it down a bit. So turn that back on to a medium-low heat and just kind of get all those ingredients worked in together into the same sauce. And then you don't want to reduce this too much. You just kind of want it, loose enough you can toss the chicken in it easily, but not so loose that it doesn't stick to the chicken, if that makes sense. And of course, a little bit of soy sauce. It's a Korean soy sauce, the first time I've had that. It's really good. I'm just gonna cook that for another 2 or 3 minutes. Just want it to thicken up slightly more, and it's good to go. Delicious, sweet, savory, salty, a little bit spicy. Well, nothing wrong with that at all. All right, time to fry some chicken, I guess. So we're gonna dredge our chicken, but before we do that, let's get the oil on. So you want a large pot. You only want to fill it about halfway for safety. You don't want it to boil over. And I'm going to use peanut oil. You kind of want any high temperature oil, canola, peanut. So you could actually do it in olive oil if you wanted to. There's a big burger chain in New Zealand that fries their chicken in olive oil. People in the comments are going to be like, you can't fry in olive oil. You can. It's just very expensive. Put a lid on it, makes it heat up faster. So our chicken, 2 eggs, straight in. Now this is the trick to crispy Korean fried chicken. Potato starch. For some reason, I'm not a food scientist, so I don't know the reason why, but it gets way crispier than even cornstarch. So we get equal quantity, so that's about a cup of potato starch. Whoa, and I made a mess. And a cup of just plain wheat flour. Now there's no denying it, this is messy and you kind of have to use your hands. So start working that stuff around, careful because if that cornstarch puffs out, it goes everywhere. You just want everything evenly coated. There's a couple of different methods for breading Korean fried chicken. There's also a method where you use like a dry dredge and then you use a wet dredge, which also works really, really well. I just like this one because it's just a bit easier at home. You're not kind of double dredging. But I think my eggs were a bit small and I'm going to add another egg. That's what home cooking is all about. It's adapting. Daz, can you get me an egg? Go on. No pressure. Perfect.
I did all right.
That's better. The other thing that you want is all these like scraggly bits. Those are those nice little crispy bits that are so nice to eat. What makes it all crunchy. All right, so that's what you're looking for. You know, it's the chicken's all coated, it's got little scraggly bits on it. That looks good to go. To be perfectly honest, I probably should have used a bigger bowl. It would have been easier to get a more even coat, but I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna clean my hands and then we will start frying some chicken. Now I've got clean hands and the oil is heating up. It's a great time to remind you that I wrote a cookbook and the link for it is below. And it's got this fantastic jerk chicken recipe in it. Another awesome spicy chicken. Let's get frying. All right, so we're gonna double fry this chicken. The first fry we're gonna cook at 175 degrees Celsius, and the second fry we're gonna cook 190 degrees Celsius. I'm gonna remind myself of those Fahrenheit temperatures. So that's 350 Fahrenheit, 375 Fahrenheit. So to get ready, make sure you got your pot, you got the thermometer so you know what temperature it is. Probably aim a bit higher for the first fry because it's gonna drop as soon as you put chicken in there anyway. And then have a rack ready, pair of tongs and a scoop. But let's get frying. Because we're doing this in batches, don't be afraid to do a few at a time and don't overcrowd your oil. So this first fry is all about setting that crust and starting to cook the chicken. Now it doesn't need to be cooked completely through. It will keep cooking once you pull it out. And use your intuition, right? So these wings are gonna cook a little bit faster than these big thigh pieces. So you're gonna pull those wings out first. But that's all the color you're looking for, like we've got on these wings in this first fry. And be really careful. Make sure you're using tongs. Have one of these nearby as well, which will help to you know, have somewhere to rest the oil. You want to keep as much oil in there as opposed to on the tray. So we're just going to fry the rest of this. Once it's all done, we'll turn the oil back up. All right, there's the first fry done. It's a pretty good looking tray of fried chicken. Now we're going to let this really come up to temperature. So like I was saying, we want this at 190 degrees Celsius. Then we'll start doing the second fry. Then we'll toss it through the sauce and we can start eating some fried chicken. We're at 190. Time for the second fry. And now we're looking for really nice color. And there we go. Our chicken beautifully fried. Wow, that looks pretty good. So the chicken's fried twice, it's definitely cooked through. We've got our sauce. I'm actually gonna pull half of this out because I'm only gonna attempt to toss half at once. Turn that heat back on that. Just control that temperature because you don't want the sauce to reduce anymore. I'm gonna add half of the chicken and the stuff that came out of the fryer first, because obviously it's had the longest to cool down. Just gonna turn that off altogether now. You just want it hot so it kind of is a bit looser and it will, when we start tossing, it'll stick nicer to the chicken. Now we're just going to carefully start tossing. Warning, it may get messy. And you really want to make sure that it's all coated. You don't want any dry bits on there. Start piling on our plate. Then we'll get the rest in. The other thing to remember is that if you're someone that in your family doesn't like spicy, just serve it to them like this. There's nothing wrong with that at all. A little bit of salt on the top, delicious. Making a bit of a mess here today. The tower of chicken. Is that gonna stay there? It's gonna take all my skill to get this last piece on here. I think I can do it. Oh no. Garnish with some sesame seeds, some spring onions, and there you go. Arguably one of the best fried chickens out there. I'm gonna clean up this disaster and then we'll eat it. So there you go, a big old plate of delicious Korean fried chicken. I like to serve it with some steamed rice, a bowl of kimchi, and a really fresh cucumber salad, just simply dressed with some sesame seeds and a bit of rice wine vinegar. But I guess it's time to taste. It's crazy how that crust still stays crispy, even though it's covered in sauce. Beautifully seasoned, nice and spicy, but not overpowering. Sweet, salty, savory. What is not to like about that? Korean fried chicken. It's definitely top 3 fried chickens in my head, but is it number 1? I'm not so sure. Why don't you let me know in the comments where you would rate this on fried chickens, and also let me know what you think my favorite is. Thanks for watching, legends. Like this video if you took anything from it. Subscribe if you're not, and we'll see you next week for another recipe. Peace.